Hello and welcome, friends, fellow traders, and investors. My name is Lloyd Logan Boucher from On Point Stocks and Options Trading. You can all call me Logan, and this is your midweek market update video. Now, I'm going to change the format in this video just slightly. We're going to be looking at the past chart picks, trade opportunities that I've analyzed and set up in the past two videos, and we're going to look at those going forward. Winners and losers. I'm not trying to hide anything from you. We've got winners and losers on both of them. And then we're going to go into our analysis of the sectors, the ETF markets, the index markets, the sector markets, the upcoming economic reports for the rest of the week. And then we're going to go into our new chart picks going forward. So let's get started in just a few seconds. All right, so going back to Sunday the 23rd, I had put out four chart picks that I thought would be good going into into that next week going ahead. That was on a Sunday, and we began with JCI, which is Johnson's Controls. And for those of you familiar with the videos, you know I do a little bit of analysis in the chart. I kind of put it a buy box and say this is an area to enter into the trade, and then we move forward from there. So this actually did wick down into the buy box. It touched the buy box and then it pushed a bit up. I did get into Johnson Control. Let's look at my charts here. I don't think I got a very good fill on it, but I got into Johnson Control on this day here as it did enter into the buy area. Johnson Control has been holding into this beautiful uptrend. Pullbacks are met with new buying. Test of support leads to a new level up. And so that was fitting the rules for the trade strategy. And there it is where it came back into the zone. Now it was a little bit high above the 8. So it was a little stretched out, buying a bit high. It did pull back again today and then pushed back up towards a close. Really looking for it to break above this high here. And I believe our resistance points here, the first area would be 43.21 and then 44.67 on this chart. So that's Johnson Control. Let's take a quick look over here at Schwab. So SCHC, Schwab Strategic International, it did gap up and over our buy box and never really made another entry opportunity. So technically still not in Schwab. It did fit the criteria for the trade strategy. We had the nice trending market going up. It's just the whole market's in a perpetual uptrend, and it had a nice pullback. Never quite made it back to the resistance point, but our support line, but that's okay. It came back to the trend line, and then it gave a buying opportunity, but it never made it back into give me a reasonable entry for that trade. So not in this trade. Logie, I am in. This is Logitech International. Logitech did not give an entry on the first day after the video. It did open up and it like for 1 second wicked up by a penny and then sold off the rest of the day and never gave a buy entry. And for those of you who've been following my videos, you know that my buy entry is always going to be when my candle turns white. I get into my buy box and my candle turns white, providing it's not too far above. It did actually give a buy entry today. So as this thing opened up, it pushed down, then it pushed up, gave a white candle, pushed down, and then closed back up near its neutral, near its opening price. So I did get a buy entry on Logi at what price? 108.87. Oh no, sorry, I'm talking about what is that one? Well, anyways, that's the options that I got into. I got into the December 18, 20, 20, $75 call on Logitech. So that is an entry for me. I'm in that trade right now. I'm holding that trade. It's not reached any kind of an exit point. It's basically sitting at break even for me right now. All right, high yield corporate bonds, the HYG. I also got into this trade as it gave a great entry, opened, ticked down just a tick, and rallied right out of that box. And I got in somewhere up here. And it's been pushing since. It did a pretty deep pullback today, retested that buy area, and a really nice leave off of that. So I'm looking forward to this one. I think we have some good potential here. I've got 85.34 on my watch as a kind of first obstacle to overcome, and then 87.50 as a second obstacle to overcome right here. You can see that's a pretty strong resistance point right there. So looking at Logitech making it up to one of those levels or somewhere in between. And I'm big on making sure to scale out of positions based on percentages, which we could talk a little bit more about at the end of the video. Okay, let's move to the next one. All right, so these are the chart setups from Tuesday, the 18th. And we'll begin over here with Piton. This is Peloton Interactive. They make those bicycles you ride. Pretty cool little ordeals right there. I did get into this trade. Did I get in this trade? Let me take a look. One sec. No, I'm apparently not in this trade, but did give a buy opportunity right here. I am heavily leveraged long, so I've actually passed up on a lot of trades just because I've got so many open positions long. I'm so heavy deltas long. But it did give a buy opportunity. We had this really strong high volume breakout above that range. This has been in a great uptrend once again, just like everything else. Came down to meet the bottom of that trend channel, gave a really nice buying candle on high volume, and it's just been trading in that range. This candle here, this big red black candle, I'll say, was kind of unexpected. But nothing's really said that you should get out if you're in this trade. And I'm not recommending anything, of course. This is all for educational purposes, but there's nothing saying that this trade isn't working yet. So that's still in play. Alcoa came into the buy box. It actually did open up in the buy box, had a really nice push out, retested this high up here, and had a bit of a sell off. It was a high volume candle. Next day, it gave another buying opportunity. Third day came down to retest the trend line. And then it's just been working itself up. And this is exactly what you would expect on this chart. So it's doing exactly what it should do. It didn't ramp up straight away. It's kind of doing the double bottom formation here, and it looks like it's building some momentum. So providing the news on Thursday comes out and it's okay, I would think that this should continue on its path to its, in its uptrend, double bottom formation, perhaps something like that. So we'll look for that to happen on Alcoa. Let's take a quick peek over here at eBay. eBay. So eBay never did touch the buy box. It actually gapped above the buy box. I was hoping for a bit of a pullback because it had already ran up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row. Well, why not make it 6, 7, 8, 9 days in a row? Hey, so eBay was a no trade. And the other one is Car. And I told you guys that I do not believe in this company one little bit, but it doesn't make a difference what I believe. It's what the buyers and the majority of the traders out there believe, and the majority are buying, regardless of whether this is going to work out or not for Avis. They're buying, and it did come into the buy box. I didn't take the trade and kind of regret it, obviously, but you know what? That's trading. And it did have a nice shot out, and then it's just basically been continuing on that range. It hasn't yet reached the top level of the trend channel or the resistance point at 36.45, so that is still in play. I mean, I'm not entering into it. It's gone too far for me, but that is still in play as it stands. All right, and looking quickly at the indexes, we can see that the SPX broke out to its new high with authority, gapped over the all-time high in and just never looked back. A little bit of a pullback this morning, but rallied up to a new high at the close. This has been fantastic this week. It's been beautiful, especially if you're positioned long. It's just wonderful to see this, and hopefully it continues into, well, Thursday. I know there'll be some hesitation, but let's see what happens after that. NDX, the Nasdaq, again, still in that uptrend. And even getting steeper. If you can see right here, it looks like it's even building more momentum as it was. It's now pulling away from that 21 EMA quite strongly. I got long NASDAQ on the pullback here off that initial gap up that we had. Where is this right here? We closed, we had that gap up, and I bought a long position here, and I'm holding it and looking for another day or two rally, hopefully, on that. I'm also long, not the Dow, the IWM, which I'll show you in a second. The Dow broke above its pivot high here. It did retrace and hold above that support level and just retested its resistance point at 21,186, which it looks like it pierced it but didn't hold above it. I imagine it probably is going to. They're readjusting the Dow right quick here. They're changing the weighting of Apple down to 17%, I think it is, from 20% to 17%. Or no, sorry. It's right now the heaviest weighted of the Dow, and I think they're going to bump it down to about the 17th heaviest weighted in the Dow. They're moving 3 or 4 stocks out and a few more stocks in, and they do that once in a while. So hopefully that gives the Dow a push and pushes it up to 28.9. 20,900 area, as when they start putting new stocks into the Dow, typically those stocks tend to get a pretty big boost and a pretty big jump. So that might just propel the Dow up. Also on the Russell, we can see the Russell. I just took a position in the Russell as well yesterday. had a pretty deep pullback in the Russell. I wasn't really too impressed by that. I didn't want this to turn into an absolute failure. It already had its two-leg pullback to the 21 moving average and a retest of support, and then it started to pull back pretty good today. But looks like the buyers came in. Looks like they're going to support it, get back up to that 1587 area, and ultimately, I guess they'll have to get it up to about that 1700 area up there as an ultimate target on this on the Russell. All right, so it took me a little bit to load this chart up. I've been having some challenges with my Thinkorswim account. Last week they were down for several days, and this morning or yesterday morning, they were sluggish on me again. So I'm not really sure what's going on over there at TD Ameritrade. Let's take a quick look at the XLs here. We have the XLY. This is this consumer discretionary sector. Once again, just looking incredibly strong as it's building momentum to the upside, as more people are out there spending money. You have XLK, which is tech, taking a nice rally, obviously in line with the NDX. And you have over here financials finally getting a bid and starting to rally. Just finally getting back above that 21 EMA. I actually looked at some of the financials, maybe thinking about a long position, but decided to pass on them as I was already so heavily long, and financials are a little bit less predictable as of late. So over here at consumer staples, you can see staples got a really nice rally, but a kind of a pullback towards the end of the day, which is kind of a little shocking. Utilities are still under the 21 EMA and looks like it's holding under the 21 EMA. Healthcare is still sideways. Over here in the energy sector kind of keeps breaking and popping and failing and popping and failing, and it looks like it's holding under that 50 and that 21 EMA right now. And right now with a hurricane coming into Houston area, you have to be aware that that typically shuts down a lot of refineries. It can take some of those offshore oil platforms offline, and that usually leads to a spike in price of oil. We haven't seen that yet. Not sure how severe this storm is. I'm not a huge tracker of weather on that type of stuff, but be aware that sometimes that does lead to a spike in energy markets. Basic materials still holding strong. It did retest at 21 EMA. We talked about that and gave a nice bounce. It did so over here as well, but still having a hard time breaking that 63.27 area. Whereas on the industrial sector side, it looks like it's building up quite nicely. A little bit of a pullback from resistance today, but that's a one-day pullback. Perhaps we're going to break through it tomorrow. So we'll hope for our industrials to break through that pivot high tomorrow. All right, so looking at the economic reports, we have some major news this week. Durable good orders are coming out on Wednesday. That's at 5:30 or 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. We have oil inventories. Obviously, they're expecting a draw of inventories of almost 3.5, just over 3.5 million barrels. We'll see what happens. We're also expecting a draw in gasoline as people are driving around for summer, drawing distillates as well. So this is a good number to prop up the price of oil if it works. Now, remember though, we're still working through all that pent up inventory in oil that was built up through that coronavirus. So technically, drawdowns might be okay. They for a while before they start really needing to ramp up production or production of oil and making of gasoline because there's so much in inventory right now. Thursday's the big day though. Here we got to be aware of this. Okay, we got GDP coming in at 5:30. That's 8:30 a.m. Eastern. It's 5:30 a.m. Pacific. And that's going to be a really, really big number. You've got continuing jobless claims. They're expecting another 14.5 million in continuing jobless claims, which is still unbelievably high. Also, initial jobless claims. Once again, they're hoping to get under a million. They bumped this up. This has been revised. Earlier, it was they were looking at 900 and I think it was 25, and then they bumped up the forecast. So I guess they're expecting a little bit higher unemployment claims than initial unemployment claims than expected. Last week, they actually were above the forecasted number, which wasn't good, but the market still went up. I mean, the market goes up on anything. Good news, bad news, the market goes up. That's a strong market. But here's the big stuff. So Jackson Hole, this is going to be where Chairman Powell is going to be speaking in regards to what they're looking forward at the economy. This is going to be a major market mover, and it's at 6 a.m. Pacific, which will be 9 a.m. Eastern time, and that's when the conversations begin. So be aware Thursday morning. You may want to lighten up your long positions. I'm probably going to be lightening up my long positions tomorrow prior to this because you never know if you might say something that could negatively affect the markets. Okay, pending home sales. Looking at that, the housing numbers were really good, by the way. Let me just quickly point this out. Housing numbers came out today. New home sales, 900,000. Unbelievable. New home sales month over month up 13%. Consumer confidence was down a little bit, but I mean, wow, that's crazy. People out there buying houses. On Friday, trade balance, PCE numbers are coming out, core PCE numbers, and then Canadian GDP numbers are going to be the big ones. So that's Friday's news. Not a huge amount on Friday. So before we get into the new chart setups, if you could do me a huge favor, and if you like the video, click the like button for me, could you? Also, if you think that this is a great channel and you want to continue watching this channel, subscribe. Click the little bell icon next to it so that it sends you notifications when I put out new videos. I put them out twice a week, and I put out some bonus videos now and then as well because it helps the channel grow and it helps me to share my knowledge with other people who are eager to learn, just like you are. So thank you very much for your support. I really do appreciate it. All right, so let's take a look at some charts looking ahead. And I want to throw out this caveat. Make sure that you understand this is all for educational purposes. These are not recommendations in any shape or way. But also be aware that because of the economic reports that are coming out on Thursday, Jackson Hole, this is like major, major economic support, that you a trader may think it wise to just say, I'm going to pass on taking trades for the rest of the week, just as a precautionary position, because it's better to be in cash than to lose money in any situation. And if you do miss out and the market does move, there's always going to be re-entry opportunities. So just be aware of that. Take that into consideration. Managing risk is the first and foremost and most important thing that any trader can do. We are technically not traders, we are risk managers. So always take that into consideration, okay, folks? All right, that being said, let's take a look at some charts that are looking and shaping up quite nicely here. We have EWW. This is the iShares. This is actually a Mexico ETF here. And by the way, I love Mexico. I have a winter home down there, spend 4 months a year down there. Don't know if we're going to spend 4 months down there this year, but definitely love Mexico. And this ETF right here, this is in an uptrend. As you can see, we do have an all-time high up here. I believe that's the all-time high. No, that's not even close to the all-time high. That's just a pivot high from the Corona crash. And there's some really nice room to move in here. There's a lot of profit potential in here, going up to 36, 31, and to 38. The trend is intact. We did get below the 8 moving average, but we have been holding on that 21 and we're holding on the prior support resistance, which is now support. A couple ugly candles in there, but all in all, I think that this still might be an opportunity here. For the amount of risk that you would need to take, that a trader would need to take, it's really not that big of a deal considering the reward potential. So that's my first call right here is EWW. I got my buy box set up here. I would love to see it actually break above this area right here. This would be ideal. And a more aggressive trader, maybe somebody who would be willing to buy inside of the buy box. Perhaps if it opens up and pushes down and get in inside the buy box. A more conservative trader may wait for the breakout of the buy box as an entry, or perhaps a pullback and retest in this area as an entry before it continues going on. So it really depends on the type of trader that you are. There's multiple ways to enter a trade like this. I like to see, personally, I like to see the breakout above a consolidation. When I get a 3 or 4 day consolidation like that, I like to see a breakout above that because this is going to end up being a pretty significant resistance point at some point. And if it breaks it above that, typically you can get a pretty good shot up. So that's my plan on this particular one. Let's take a look at our second choice here. We're looking at PRO, so Prosh Holdings. Once again, this one has been in a very, very nice uptrend, and it just came up to 50 SMA, and it kind of broke it, closed above it, and it's been holding below it just the last couple days. Now, once again, I set this buy box where I set it, where it's just slightly above that EMA, the 50 SMA, and it's below it as well. And this is to kind of match up with the different types of traders that are out there. So let me just really quickly here move this over so I can give you a bit better description. All right, what's going on? There we go. There we go. So once again, in a situation like this, I don't generally buy stuff that's below the 50 moving average. It's kind of my benchmark for trend. But as of lately, a lot of stocks have been having these huge pushes out and breaking above that moving average. And once they pent up energy below it. It's kind of like a springboard. Like you compress the spring down, and the longer you compress it, boom, the bigger the shot out. And I've been seeing a lot of this. And this one looks like it's setting up exactly like that. We've got the crossover, the moving averages. The moving averages are diverging, converging with the 50. Pretty soon the 8 and the 50 are going to cross. And we have this 4-day consolidation here. So, the more conservative trader would buy a breakout above that moving average, and that would probably be a pretty good choice. A more aggressive trader may be willing to pick it up if it pulls back in, maybe if it goes down to test the 21, because sometimes that happens, then shows a white candle and they get in somewhere in the buy box. And a more conservative trader may be waiting for that high volume breakout, looking for a consolidation as the moving averages start to catch up, and then buy on the test of the moving average or the white candle or the breakout of that second consolidation. Whatever your choice is, however you choose to enter it, always make sure that you manage your risk if you're going to take this as a trade. Okay, so always know where your point of being proven wrong is, and never be afraid of getting out. If you get out, you can always get back in. If you have one candle that fails on you and the next candle's pulling up and it's looking like it's going to go, then take the conservative entry. Never be afraid of getting back in if the chart pattern is set up and it looks like it's doing what it's supposed to do. Never be afraid to get into that trade. All right, let's take a look at our third trade for the day, our third setup for the day. Now, Carnival Cruise, I mean, this is like Avis to me. I wouldn't necessarily believe that this company is going to do anything good. The reason why I like it is because there's a lot of profit potential on the trade based on the chart. It's breaking out of its downtrend channel. It's made a new high, a higher low. So the trend is intact. It looks like it may be an inverse head and shoulders. The only thing I really don't like about this is that it's sold off right there. Like it sold off, bounced up, and never closed above the second day in a row above that trend line. But that's not to say it won't. And so another entry opportunity on this particular chart could be buying a conservative entry on a retest of these moving averages. Now remember, you're above the 50, you're above the 8, and you're above the 21. They're all confluencing. That is a very, very strong signal when you get that type of confluencing in the same area. Also, you have this trend line that's holding. So maybe this thing pulls back down a little bit. Maybe it comes back, retests one of these moving averages that are kind of moving like that, and then it decides to break up. If you decide to enter it, if it's a trade that you decide to take, which again, I'm not recommending trades, but if for educational purposes, if this is something that fits your rules, an entry above this line would be really good. Or if it decides to just simply go higher tomorrow, maybe pull back, retest, and then break up into a white candle tomorrow, an entry anywhere in there would be a pretty good entry as well. I would expect that this is probably going to go for a while because when I looked at it, there's really not a whole lot in terms of like there's nothing 18, maybe a little bit at 18, but then after that, there's really nothing in terms of resistance. This could begin building momentum and start, something like what happened over here with the basing, the hard breakout, pullback, and then the momentum starts to build and it just takes off. So can't really predict the future, but you can look at charts and kind of assess based on past price action what could happen in the future with a higher degree of accuracy. And that's exactly what I'm doing right here. Let's take a look at our fourth pick for the day, OSTK. This may be a little out of range for some people. This thing has just been a monster in a monster uptrend. We've had a nice deep pullback, which is really, really good. It actually got below the 8 moving average, but still holding above the 21. The only challenge here is it's below the resistance point, which was resistance. It didn't really serve as demand. It kind of is holding below and below the trend line. So in this type of a trade, I would not be too interested in entering it right away. I'd like to see this thing shape up maybe for even a day or two, unless it gets outside of this buy box and it shows me that it's strongly moving in the right direction, and it decides it's going to keep up like that. So that's kind of what I'm looking for right here. Um, the trend line technically is broken. It's pierced, but it closed above, so it's not really broken. And let's see how it ends up tomorrow. If it gaps lower and trades higher, then there may be an opportunity to enter tomorrow like this. But understand this is a pretty expensive stock, and this is going to involve a fair amount of risk. So position size accordingly, understanding where your stop needs to be based on your trade rules. So however you want to place that. But understand there's going to be more risk in a trade like this. I want to wish you all a great week of trading, and we'll see you all right here every Sunday and Tuesday. Of course, next week I am going elk hunting. I'm leaving on Friday for an elk hunting trip. I will try and rip back in town to make sure I get my videos out there, but I'm going archery hunting for elk for the next 2 weeks. Well, yeah, next 2 weeks, I guess. And unless I get one down, I'll come back early, but I'll be away for a little bit. So, once again, this is Logan Boucher from On Point Stocks and Options Trading signing off. Wish you all the best this week.